Financial. My name's Dave Howard, and thanks so much for stopping by and checking out what I'm doing here. As I said in my first episode, I'm kind of just going on faith here. I read a book about success, and they were talking about how in order to be successful, one of the things you need to do is create content every day. So I am going on faith here, creating content every day. And it's tough for me. And one of the things I am infamous for is creating excuses as to why I can't get something done. And my excuse, kind of like chambered, always ever ready, is I don't have enough time. So, just a little bit about me. I actually still have my full-time job. I've got a good job, and kind of feel like I'm making a difference where I'm at right now. So, for the time being, I'm still working, and on top of that, I'm working on 2 books right now, and I'm also running a magic organization here in Victoria Magic Circle, and that's a trying event in itself. As well, I do my best to try and get to the gym, play guitar, and I got to work on my craft as a magician as well. So it's fair to say that I'm a busy person. So when I heard myself starting to come up with the excuse as to why I can't do a podcast and create content, I thought, well, you know what? Let's see what we can do. Let's actually, instead of saying I don't have time, I mean, who has time to do this? Let's see what I can do. So I decided that what I'm going to do is I'm just going to strap a camera to the dash of my car and record myself as I'm on my way to one of the many things I do on a daily basis. Today, I want to talk a little bit about frugality and what I always thought it meant growing up. I always thought that frugality, being responsible, was not spending any money. You're allowed to spend money on food and rent, and even food. I had to consider that a little bit and think about it. But as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that back windows open. As I'm getting older, I'm really realizing that it's important not to not spend money. That's the wrong thing. The important thing is to spend money on what's important. Now, for myself, one of the things, just real quick discussion about coffee. Coffee. Today I'm drinking out of the Atwood Christmas mug, which is we got ourselves made up like the Simpsons. So had that done a couple of years ago. So this is what we're drinking. We're drinking coffee that I brewed at home. And let me go back a little bit further. When I was 17, not to belabor the point too much, but I knew what hunger was. I knew what being hungry was. And so when I went to a restaurant, and I liked pop. I didn't like coffee at all. Coffee's bitter, and it just didn't do it for me. It wasn't fun. Pop, it's sweet, it's cool, it's refreshing, it's got bubbles. It's a party in your mouth, and everyone's welcome. But coffee just seemed to me to be too. I didn't enjoy it. Didn't like it. However, I learned at a very young age that coffee, when you order it in a restaurant, at least back when I was growing up, was about the same price as a glass of pop. However, when you were done with a cup of coffee, you got free refills. And sometimes those refills could go on for hours. And as a kid, a teenager in the coffee shop, that's what I did. And I would drink it with so much cream, so much sugar. Like, that's the way I drank my coffee. And I drank it because it was cheaper. I mean, I got more value from drinking coffee. So, needless to say, I became addicted to caffeine. I drink coffee every day, and I'm here to say I actually enjoy it. I actually enjoy my addiction to caffeine, and I probably will keep drinking it for the rest of my life until someone says, you know, hey, na pot of coffee, and then maybe I might stop. I enjoy a good cup of coffee. So, you know, I have a coffee machine at home and at work. And I'll have a cup of coffee at home. And this is the one I pour this before I leave for the day. And then I'll make another pot when I get to work. Another cup when I get to work. When Tim Hortons first came to Victoria, my wife, she actually was a big fan of Tim Hortons and was always telling me she's got to have her Timmies in the morning. And I went to work one day and thinking, and again, it's one of those things I thought about. It's like, how much are we spending on coffee? Like, it's, you know, say it's like $2 a cup. We go to work, you know, 5 days a week. You know, that's $10 a week. We go to work 50 weeks a year. That's 500 cups of coffee, or $500 spent on coffee. I thought about it. I was like, well, it's $500. And if I go buy a pound of coffee and I make it at home, the difference now is instead of spending $500 a year on coffee, and this is $2 coffee. This isn't your frappuccinos with your espresso shots and all that stuff. This is the basic coffee, and this was back in, you know, the 2000s. It wasn't. It's not what we have today when it comes to coffees. Coffees today can get outrageous. So I'm just basically, just for quick math, $2. That's $500 a year. Now, you know, you throw it into an index fund and stuff like that. You know, 10 years it's $5,000, and next thing you know, you're starting to really dip into some serious possible retirement funds. And there was a guy actually who put out a thing called the what did he call it? He called it the latte, the latte retirement plan, and it was about not buying coffee and saving it for retirement. And I read that, and I thought, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start saving money when it comes to coffee, and put that towards my my retirement plan. Now, having said that, I want to make this clear. This was my choice. I don't believe that you're going to pay for your pension with your retirement with by not drinking coffee. However, it did start me thinking about other things in life that I could possibly cut costs on. So I started thinking, okay, where can I cut costs? Now, in the beginning, I didn't spend money on anything. And I mean, I was like saving every penny I could, trying to figure out, you know, how best to get ahead financially. But what you do when you do that is you start to actually diminish your life. And no matter what anyone says, being prepared for retirement is really important. But you have to be careful with where your frugality starts to infect your life. For myself, getting a cup of coffee, going to a drive-thru, waiting in line, which, by the way, I despise waiting in line for anything. I'll do it if I have to, but I really, truly despise it. But to get up in the morning earlier, get to a place, stand in line, and buy an overpriced coffee, to me was it was an indication of insanity. Okay, get some construction up here this morning. Do we? Nope, they're just getting their signs ready. So when I think about when I see those lineups at Starbucks and Tim Hortons, and I just think, my God, how could you just waste your time and money on a cup of coffee? That's me. So I love my coffee, like I said, so I brew mine at home. So the cost savings is incredible for me. Like, instead of spending, you know, $500 a year, I'm spending maybe $500 a year, I'm spending pennies instead of dollars for my cup of coffee. And also, I'm not waiting in line. So when I get up in the morning, I start my coffee machine, get my workout done, do my work that I'm going to do before I go to work, and then I got my coffee ready to go on my commute. That's the way I want to live. Now, when it comes to things like clothing or shoes or, watches, whatever the case is, there's certain things I will not cheap out on. Like, I want to have a nice watch. I want to have decent clothes. So when you're talking about frugality, if you start cutting too much into your life and everything's got to be cheap, I understand. Look, there's no reason in the world to have a watch like I've got right now. There is absolutely no reason. And most people I know think it's insane, me buying a watch like this, because it tells the time, and I got the time right here on my phone. But it's important to me. So what I'm trying to get to with the whole frugality thing is, be frugal in your life, but decide on where that frugality wants to be, and don't give up too much of your life to save a couple of bucks. But where you are going to be saving money, like for me, it's the coffee. I save money on the coffee. Cut back where you can. Look around at your life and see where you can cut back, and cut back on those things, but cut right back. I drink cheap coffee, and it's good for me. I enjoy it. It works, but I don't wear cheap watches because that doesn't work for me. So when it comes to your life, like, if you were to cut back on everything, and this is where I'm kind of going with this, you start to diminish your life. There's so many things. Like, for some people, hey, you don't need a fancy car. You don't need expensive shoes. So that's fine. If those things are not important to you, go with the cheap stuff. But just don't start cutting into your life so much in order to save for the future that you forget to live today. It's important to treat yourself well. But I guess the thing is I would rather buy one expensive bottle of wine than drink a lot of beer. I guess that's kind of where I'm saying. Yeah, like, I would rather buy one thing nice than have a lot of things that are just not nice. Have one thing that stands out in your life. So, drink your coffee. And if going to Starbucks in the morning is an important part of your ritual, then by all means do it. For me, it was something that I saw. I looked at my life and I said, there's no way I can do that. So I'm going to cut that out of my life. And I'm going to take the extra money I save and I'm going to put it towards living a good life. So don't try to have a bunch of things that are meh. And I think basically in a nutshell, minimize the things in your life that you want that are great, and minimize the things you want in your life, period. But the things that you do have in your life, there you go. Minimize the things you want in your life. Let me do this again. Minimize the things that you have in your life, but make those things great. I think that's the key. Instead of trying to get more stuff, focus on the few things that really truly add value to your life. Okay, so this one may not be the best video, but we're going ahead. We're gonna put it in. We're gonna pump it in raw because I'm gonna keep doing this. I'm going on faith that I'm going to somehow become wealthy by doing these videos. Super successful by doing these videos. So I'm gonna keep pumping them in, dropping them in, content every day. Thanks so much for subscribing, and for those that have subscribed and this is your first video, thank you, and God bless you for hanging in for this raw content. We're going to be working on it. We're going to be tweaking it as we go. Thank you so much. Subscribe if you haven't already. Love you if you have. Like, share, all that stuff. Thanks so much for listening. And remember, just make sure that you have a good life. It's important to be frugal and cut the things out of your life that you're unnecessary, and save costs where you can. But don't do it to a point that you're not going to be living the best life. God bless.